Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do makeup for acne prone skin, which clearly I have. My acne is pretty bad right now with all the stress of the coronavirus and everything going on. My skin is at an all-time low. So I figured I would show you how to achieve a nice makeup look while you're breaking out with acne. So to start, my favorite thing to do is to have a nice hydrated base. Before this, I did wash my face. I always wash my face with my CeraVe hydrating facial cleanser before I go in with any makeup, because I want to make sure that anything from the night before is washed off. And I also want to make sure that I can kind of take a warm towel and exfoliate off any dead skin that might have formed overnight from the medicines that I use to dry out my acne. So like I'm on a retinol that's prescribed from my dermatologist, so it really dries out my skin, and I make sure to go in and kind of gently exfoliate with a warm towel in the mornings when I wash my face. So after that, I do like to go in with a moisturizer. I have oily skin, so while yes, I do have a lot of dryness on my skin from my acne, this does help kind of keep things balanced. When you have oily skin, you actually have super dehydrated skin because your skin overproduces oil to make up for the lack of hydration. So it helps to drink a lot of water, and it also helps to hydrate your skin. So this is the Clinique Moisture Surge 72 Hour. This is one of my favorite moisturizers. It's really lightweight. It's great for daytime. Just kind of slap that on everywhere. If I were going outside, I would also put on an SPF, but since I'm in quarantine, I'm not going anywhere. Believe it or not, this is like the first time I've put on makeup. I'm sure that's not that hard to believe. So the next thing that I do after I kind of get my skin nice and hydrated is I get my under eyes a little bit more hydrated as well. So I go in with this little Tula skincare stick. This is the Rose Glow and Get It Cooling and Brightening Eye Balm. It just kind of gives your skin an extra little boost of glow and hydration. So I really like this for under my eyes, especially since they do get pretty dark. And as you can see, it does have kind of like a reflect to it. I do put it like on top of my cheekbones too. Take my ring finger and pat it in so it's not so crazy looking, but it actually does look really nice underneath concealer. For primer, I go in with the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. This is one of my favorites because it has a lot of really nice skincare benefits to it, and it also smooths out texture. So I like to kind of work it where I have a lot of bigger pores and acne scars, which is right in the center of my face. So my nose is pretty bad, and I just kind of work it outwards from my nose. And I'll like spread and then pat, because you want to like push it into your pores so it actually fills them in. And then I take a little bit in between my brows right here and work it up a little bit on my chin because my pores are pretty bad there. And like right through here. So now we're ready for foundation. This right here is my favorite foundation. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation. I mix the shades 102 and 101. So I take that on a sponge because I feel that it's easier to press it into the skin with a sponge, and it ends up looking more natural, which is what you want. This is a pretty high coverage foundation, as you can see, which is great when you have acne because obviously you want to cover it up. I mean, you don't have to cover it up, obviously, but if you're like me, you want to. So I'm kind of just gonna do one side of my face so you can see what it looks like. I do like to use a more matte foundation when I'm breaking out, because if you use any shine on your skin, it's gonna emphasize texture. So I tend to stay away from dewy foundations when my skin is breaking out. So this is what it looks like before and after, especially in those areas where we put the primer. You want to make sure you're really pressing into the skin. You don't ever want to swipe, because swiping is going to take away coverage and it's going to move around whatever you have underneath. So you really want to make sure you're pressing into the skin. With textured skin, it's really important to always use pressing motions and not swiping, because any texture or dry skin or anything will pick up either with the sponge or the bristles in the brush that you're using, and that is not good. Okay, so this is where we're at with the foundation. Okay, so this is the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. This is my absolute all-time favorite concealer. And I'm gonna use that under my eyes. So I'm just gonna take that right under my eyes in almost this like triangular shape. I take it right down my nose, because my nose, I feel, always needs extra coverage. So I take it down the bridge of my nose and I end up spreading it like all over my nose, which I know is not necessarily the point, but it works for me. And then I will add some extra coverage through here and on my chin. This is gonna help with the way that your skin looks, in the sense that it's not gonna be all one flat color. It's gonna add dimension. It's also helping to add coverage. So I usually will carry it out a little bit to here, just whatever's left over, just to add coverage where I need it. And then I'll really concentrate pressing it in right here. And that brings focus to the center of your face right here, so that people are looking here and not where your acne is. So you're almost redirecting the focal point. And I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of Morphe white concealer. This is like a trick that I like to do right up in here, just to add extra brightness. And I just blend it with the same sponge, so it kind of mixes with our original concealer. And this just makes it super, super bright. Especially if you have really fair skin, like I do. It's a really helpful little trick. And it doesn't matter, you can go up by your eye if you want to, but I really like to focus it like right in here. Okay, so now that we're nice and bright in the center, now I like to cream contour a little bit. This is the Tarteist Pro Glow palette. This one's kind of old, but I like this color in here for cream contour, and I just take it on a kind of flat brush like this guy. I just take a little bit of the product. I don't like to do a whole lot of this because it's pretty dark on me. I like to add it right here in the contours. I add a tiny bit to my temples and around my forehead, but I try not to pick up too much extra product. I like to add a little bit on the sides of the nose, and I kind of connect it up into my brow, some under the nose to create like a shadow to shorten the tip, a little under the lip, and then I'll kind of cut the jawline really lightly. So using the cream helps a lot when you have acne, because if you use a lot of powders, it's going to pick up texture on your skin. And using the creams usually have some coverage to them. So that's why I like using kind of a cream base and blending it all out before I set with powder, because it'll add extra coverage in those areas where you need it, but it's not going to emphasize texture, and it's not going to pick up coverage, it's gonna add coverage. For the nose contour, I just kind of blend it all over, and then sometimes I'll go back in with a little strip concealer right here. And then same thing for the jawline. I kind of press and I pull just a little bit, but I really just try to press it. Okay, so we have a little bit of cream contour going on right now. Now I'm just gonna flip over my sponge, make sure that my under eye is nice and blended before we set with any powders. And then the powder that I'm gonna be using is the Jeffree Star Cosmetics powder. This is the Magic Star powder in Rose. This one has a little bit of color to it, which I really like. And I just pick it up literally on my sponge. I press it right under my eye. And this is gonna set your under eye, give you a little bit of extra coverage too. And then I do the same thing, go over my nose. This is a smoothing powder as well, and any smoothing product you can get when you have acne is great. The skin's gonna look really super matte until I add like my final few steps, and then it's gonna look normal. And then same thing here. I really try to set all the areas that crease really, really well. And then I just kind of spread it to the rest of my face. And again, we're just pressing, because those pressing motions are gonna make sure that the makeup goes into your skin and not dragged all over the place. And it's gonna minimize texture when you press. So now I really like to go in with a matte contour shade, which I really like this Kylie one. It's called Toasty. It's just a really good neutral shade, and I'm going to take that on a little round brush. This is the Morphe M530, and I'm just gonna go right over where we put all of that cream contour with this shade. And this one is a great contour color because it's super neutral, and I like to contour with a more neutral or even a more cool color. But this one's not too warm, and that's why I like it. And I take that around the entire perimeter of my face. It's really important if you have acne to use a matte bronzer, because anything with shimmer, again, is going to pick up texture. So you wanna make sure your bronzer is matte, so you're not adding shimmer where you don't need shimmer and where it's gonna pick up on texture. And then if you want even more of like a bronze, you can use a warmer bronzer color. This is the Morphe Glamabronze in Icon. And you can take a bigger, fluffier brush and just kind of fluff right over it. and that's gonna give you like more of an all over bronze, but this is also a matte bronzer, so it's safe for acne. And again, you wanna kinda like press, warm it up. I usually bring it down my neck because my neck is so much more pale than my face. For blush, same thing, you wanna use a matte blush. So again, I like to go in with the Kylie. This is in Baddie on the Block. It's just a nice like pink color right here, really pretty. So I go in on my Morphe E4, my favorite blush brush. And again, you just wanna kind of pat it. This brush is really nice because it's angled, so it'll give you that perfect shape without messing up your bright under eye. And you wanna kind of concentrate it right above where you put your bronzer. So you wanna put it on the apples of your cheeks so it shows. I really like blush, so don't judge me. You can skip this step if you're not a blush fan. It really doesn't matter, but I like blush. And then I always put some like right on the tip of my nose and right over, just to give you like a little sun-kissed effect. And I even like pop some right here on my forehead and a little on my chin. And now what you can do is you can go back in with your powder and you can clean up your contour. So I just go right under here and I just drag it along so I get a nice sharp line, just like that. And I do that on both sides. You gotta make sure they're even too, because if they're not, it's gonna look weird. I just let that sit for a second. Do it one more time right up against my nose here, just to pinch it in a little bit. So I do two kind of little stripes down the side, and then I do one stripe in the middle. So I just let that sit there for a minute. And then I just take any like powder brush. This is just a small little powder brush, and I wipe off the bake that I did first, and see how it just cleans up that line so it's nice and sharp. But I don't want it too sharp, so I kind of blend just a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and wipe off my nose. You don't want to let it sit for too long because then it'll stay there and it'll get stuck, and you don't want that. Just to add a little extra coverage under the eyes, I'm gonna go in with the Too Faced Turn Up the Light. This is in the shade Light, and I'm gonna take this little middle shade right here. It's really like satiny powder, but I like to add just a little bit of extra coverage under my eyes with this. I know it may seem like a lot of powder, but it's coverage, so. Okay, so now setting spray. Kind of do a lot. And this is gonna kind of melt all those powders into your skin so you don't look so cakey. And then I go in with this Jaclyn Cosmetics powder. This does have a little bit of shimmer to it, but it's a blurring powder, so it's okay. This one is called Do Me, and I take this, I dump this out right here, and this is how I make my skin look alive again. And I do this on like a really loose, fluffy brush like this one. I tap a little off, I don't do too much, but I take this literally just right on the apples of my cheeks. And I like this powder a lot because it doesn't emphasize texture. It's smoothing, but it does have a little bit of shine to it, so it makes you look like you're alive. So I take some on the apples of my cheeks, I do a little bit on my nose, a little on my chin, a little tiny sweep across my forehead so it gets a little bit of natural shine, but that's it. I just kind of brush this all over. So now I'm gonna go in with a little highlight. This is the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Peach Goddess highlighter. This is my favorite highlighter in the entire world. It's just super pretty. So I'm gonna take a little highlight brush. I'm gonna dip right in. I kind of load up the brush and then tap it off. And then if you have any acne here, you kind of want to be careful because if you put shimmer on top, like I said, you don't have to do this step, but it will emphasize your texture. So I do like highlight, so I try to be really careful and not put it on any acne spots. I really will just kind of focus it right on the top of my cheekbone, so I only get the shine right there and literally nowhere else on my face. I don't want anything else to be shiny. So I really try to concentrate it only where I want it to shine. I really love a Cupid's bow highlight because it makes your lips look nice and pouty. But I think I'm gonna leave the highlight just there. And then I'll even take that last brush that we used on the Jaclyn and just blend it out a little bit. And if you ever go overboard, you can just go back over with your sponge with any leftover like foundation and concealer on it. But you definitely don't ever want to take your highlight in areas where like you have pores in here, because that's not good. But that's why we laid down that Jaclyn powder, because that actually helps smooth a little bit but give you that like nice like little glow on the apples of your cheeks, which I really, really like. So this is kind of where I like to leave my base. That is really it for makeup for acne prone skin. This is what I do. This is what works for me. It might not work for you. This is definitely not going to help your skin. I'm not showing you products with like revolutionary ingredients that are going to cure your acne. If I knew what those were, if I had found products that cured my acne, maybe my acne would be cured, but it's not. So this is just kind of where we're leaving things right now, and I really like the finish that this gives. It really hides my acne well, and I feel really pretty when I wear this type of base. So that's what I do. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in my next one. Bye.